Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. So in the previous episode, we dealt with the links in order to create a nav. In order to make our navigation work, we had to basically duplicate this code right through the different pages. Now that violates the dry principle on coding, meaning don't repeat yourself. So that's why we're going to discuss this component right here, or this file. So underscore app.js right here. Now this is a very, very powerful file right here. By default, you don't need to modify it a lot, so you can just leave it as is. But if you want to add some default layouts, this is quite handy to do that. So that's what we're going to do, and everything basically in Next.js gets handled by this file. It's also very good if you want to basically handle the state between different components. Very, very good for that as well. So let's start off with the first one. This is the global CSS, which we're not going to discuss in this episode because we're going to deal with the styles in the next episode, because I want to show you guys how to work with this and how to install Tailwind and Bootstrap, because I like to use the CSS frameworks like Tailwind or Bootstrap, and I don't like to write my own CSS. Just don't want to kind of keep it to a minimum. All right, let's start off with the first one. We've got a component right here. Now, what is a component? Now, the component just refers to any page under the pages folder right here that gets served in the browser. So if we go to the articles right here, that's the one that gets viewed. So if we go to the home page, that's the component that basically gets viewed right there. Now, the next thing is, what is a prop? It's because you will see the page props right here. Now, a prop in React just refers to a property. Now, right, in layman's terms, it's just data that get passed from one component to the next. But we must remember that the direction is unidirectional, so meaning it can only get passed from the parent to the child. All right, so that's basically just a quick summary of this file right here. So that you guys, when you see it, don't be alarmed, you don't need to change a lot, but I'm going to show you how to create a default layout. Now, there's a convention on how to do this. All right. So the first one is you have to create a folder, and you're going to call this one components. Okay. So if you guys see this, you will know from Laravel that we have a components file inside our views for our blade components. All right, so we got a components file right here. So what we do is we create a new file in here, and we're going to call this one layout. Now just remember, this can be pastel case or lowercase. All right, so that's totally up to you. So I'm just going to keep it Pascal. So we're going to have our layout, actually layout singular. All right, so that's our first one. So we're going to create three. We're going to create the navigation one. So that's for our nav.js. So you can keep it lowercase or Pascal. Right, the next one is the footer.js. All right, so let's go to our layout right here. So obviously we need to create an arrow function or whatever one you prefer. So I like to create arrow functions. I like to deal with them. So that's our layout. But just remember, we're going to receive children right here, because we're going to, I will show you in a second, and then we're just going to render the children. All right, so that's our layout all done. So let's go to our app.js file right here. So in order to basically make use of our layout, we need to wrap our component basically with our layout. So let's just quickly do that. So I'm just going to bring in our layout. So as you can see, when I do that, it automatically imports it for me right there. Okay, so let me just do this. So now I'm wrapping my component basically with my layout component like this. Okay, so we import it. So import, so I don't want to type out all of that. So you can just import it right here. So import layout from components basically means you have to go out of this file. All right, so that's what the double dots is. And then you're going to look for the components in the components, and then you're going to go to that layout. Okay, awesome stuff. So that's basically how we can set up our layout right there. But our layout file is not finished yet, because we still need to make use of the different components of the navigation and the footer. But in the layouts right here, I just want to explain the children right here. The children is the children that we receive that's between our layout, basically our element tags, basically our layout right there. So this is the children that we pass to the component, and then we just render them right there. Okay, so let's quickly go to the nav and quickly create this component. So I'm just going to create that. So that's our nav, and I'm just going to do a nav like this. And in here, just remember, we're not going to do a UL, LR. I'm just going to do a link like this. If you guys remember from a previous episode, we discussed this right here. So I'm creating an anchor tag, but the anchor tag needs to go onto the opening tag of your link right there. But we obviously need to make sure we import this. Right, so let's just quickly import the link. So it's just going to say import link from Next.js, just like that. Okay, so we just may have to make sure you import it, otherwise you're going to get an error. So let's start off with the first navigation. This one is for the home page, and I'm just going to call this one home. I'm just going to duplicate this for all the other ones. Right, so now we got our links right here. So we got a link with an href for the home, about, articles, and services. Just remember, this just refers to the, if this is not nested. So let me just quickly show you. So as you can see, if we go to /about, in the about is the index right there. So it's not nested. In the articles, the index for the articles right there, and the service, the index for the services right there. So if I wanted to go to the services one, I obviously have to kind of specify it a little bit different too, like this, to services, services one. Right, so obviously I'm not going to do that for this one. I just want to go to /services, just to kind of keep it simple. For the footer right here, let's quickly create another error one. So this one, just remember, this is a footer element in HTML, but in this case is JSX and not actually HTML. So in this, we're just going to say copy right 2022, just like that. So now we got our footer and our nav right here. Now what I want to do is I want to use those components inside my layout component right here, and I just want to make this an empty fragment. And this one, I'm just going to bring in my nav right here. So that's our nav, but instead of making it with an opening and closing tag in React, you can actually have a self-closing component just like that. All right, so let's do the same for the footer as well. / just like that. So as you can see, it's we basically mention it, but we haven't imported the components yet. So let's quickly bring them in. So import nav from, right, now we just go outside. Now we're still in the same folder, / and then we can just go to the nav. Let's just put the nav first, nav, and then we just do the same for the footer. Import footer from footer. All right. So there's basically our footer all done. So this is duplicated right now because inside our index.js, let's go there and remove this right now since we don't need it anymore. All right, and I'm just going to add some lorem ipsum, say 20, just like that. All right, so as you can see, I like the navigation without the refresh, which is quite nice for a Next.js app. All right, so let's quickly close this off. All right, so as you can see, if I go to the home page right here, we're using the same navigation. If we go to the about, same navigation, articles and services. All right, so that's basically how you can set it all up. You create a components folder with all your different components. Now you can even do nested in here. So you can say, let's say we have a buttons one, and inside here we can create a new component called primary. All right, .js. All right, and you can even do new folder, and we can do a secondary. Totally up to you. You can structure it, but there's conventions out there so that you can follow and just use, if you're in a team, use whatever you use in your team. Just kind of learn how they do it and stick to that. All right, so because if someone comes to your code right now, if someone have to come and look at this file, they will know all my components is in here. All right, that's the convention. And they will know all my pages is in here. So when they see a folder, they will probably know, just going to look, okay, so this, they will know this is dynamic, all that kind of stuff. Just stick with the conventions. So if someone else works with your code, it's quite easy for them. So let's quickly go to the app right here. So that's basically how we can set up a default layout in our application. So what we're going to do in the next episode, we're going to deal with the styling. So as you can see right now, everything looks dull and boring. So we want to make it look a little bit nicer. So I'll kind of show you how to do that in Next.js. All right. So see you guys there, and adios.